His reaction from President-elect Trump and President Putin suggests there's no shortage of affection between the two men, but their friendly back and forth comes at the same time some of Mr. Trump's own advisors are recommending a much more cynical approach in dealing with Russia.
This has all the earmarks of a ploy. I mean, the way this was set up, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is reported publicly to have proposed to Putin that Russia expel 35 American diplomats. So they report the recommendation of the foreign minister, and then Vladimir Putin says, no, we won't do that. What a sweetheart. This could be entirely intended for the effect that they want to create, which is Vladimir Putin's a man you can do business with.
Joining me now, Governor Mike Huckabee, former presidential candidate and Fox News contributor. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year, Sandra.
All right, well, you just heard it from Ambassador Bolton's mouth. Could Putin's response to our president be a ploy?
Well, in a lot of ways, I think what he's doing, he's ignoring Obama. He's doing something that really does the one thing no leader wants to have happen, and that is to be taken lightly, to be ignored, to be treated contemptuously. And that's what Putin is doing to Obama. And by saving his praise for Trump, I think he's sort of saying, you know, there's a new sheriff coming to town, we'll deal with him. This guy, Obama, is irrelevant. Now, I think that's a strategic move on Putin's part, and let's be real clear. Putin is no friend of the United States. He's not looking after our best interest. But Donald Trump isn't looking after Russia's best interest. These are both smart, shrewd guys who are sizing each other up in the ring. And I think it's going to be a fascinating times. But I do believe, Sandra, they bring to the table something that Putin did not have for Obama, and that is they have respect for each other. I don't think Putin has any respect for Obama.
Wow. Well, I mean, Ambassador Bolton, he's actually suggesting that the sanctions that Obama put on Russia should be tougher. And that really stands in stark contrast to what we're hearing from many of your Republican colleagues. Do you agree with him that he's saying if the findings, or if what is alleged is true about this hacking, that the sanctions should be tougher? Do you agree?
Sure, I think it's fine. Go ahead and put some tough sanctions on. But let me just ask this question. Does anybody really believe that the United States isn't attempting to hack the Russians, the Iranians, the Chinese, the North Koreans? And if we're not, we're stupid. Of course we're trying to do that. We haven't been caught. And if we do get caught, well, I'm sure we're going to see some, outrage among those nations. The one thing I think that is being missed here is that every nation is trying to hack other nations. It's part of cybersecurity. But what really happened was not something that changed the outcome of the election. What happened was that a very dumb Democrat gave his password away to the hackers, whoever they were, and Hillary Clinton destroyed government documents and kept a whole lot of state secrets on a private server in her bathroom, which was unsecured. That really ought to be the focus of a lot of people's attention.
But let me go back to your initial point there, Governor, because you're saying you've made that point all along. Every conversation that we have had is that this didn't have an impact on the election. Is that important? Because Ambassador Bolton makes the point that the fact that the Russian efforts were incompetent or insufficient shouldn't make us feel better. He's saying it's not even important to make the point whether or not there's evidence that this had an impact or any effect on U.S. elections.
Oh, I think we ought to be, doing what we can to say, look, that's unacceptable. We're not going to tolerate it, even while we're attempting to do it to you. So, yeah, I get all of that. I mean, that's part of the posturing. That's part of the whole diplomatic move that we have to take. But maybe this would be a good time for us to explore the holes in our cybersecurity defenses, and maybe the great focus, instead of putting some sanction on Russia, although I don't have any problem with that, maybe the resources we are expending ought to be to plug the holes in our cybersecurity vulnerabilities. And I don't hear that being discussed. I don't hear the outrage by Senator McCain and Graham about how dare these people get by because we were weak in our defenses and had big holes in it. Now, in the case of Podesta's, that wasn't a big hole. It wasn't cybersecurity. My gosh, the man gave them his password. He was spoofed, and he took the bait. And that's what happened with all those WikiLeaks. If it was the Russians, even though Assange says it wasn't the Russians, they said it came from a different source. I don't personally know one way or the other.
Are you confident that the incoming president, President-elect Trump, is prepared to deal with this cyber threat that you just referenced? I mean, you dig through the research, and I mean, there are black markets of hackers out there that they demand large sums of money. They're very good at what they do, and they're all over the place. This is a continued threat that we face. Do you think he's prepared to fight that?
Well, I do. I think he's putting some people in his cabinet and on his national security team that will be focused on it. Will he personally go in and create a firewall? No, I doubt that he's that tech savvy. But I think he's putting people in place who recognize the importance of it. And quite frankly, one of the things, I'd love to see our government do, instead of putting some of these really smart, young, brilliant kids in prison and ruining their lives, maybe tap into what they know that we don't know about how to get into these security systems. I mean, that would be a pretty fair deal to find out, how did you guys get into the Defense Department computer anyway, and find out where the vulnerabilities are. That's what I'd like to see President Trump do. Yeah, it's amazing. And lastly, Governor, before we let you go, the idea of the president-elect, soon-to-be President Trump, tweeting about this exchange with Putin, are you okay with that? I mean, this latest great move on delay by V. Putin. I always knew he was very smart. Are you all right with that? Here's why I am okay with it, because it's Donald Trump's way of bypassing a media that will never accurately filter, reflect, or even portray what he has said. And Donald Trump can do more in 140 characters than the New York Times can do with 600 pages in its Sunday paper. So, yeah, I think it's kind of a brilliant stroke, to be honest with you. All right. And he says he intends to keep doing it. So it'll be interesting. Governor Huckabee, thanks for being here tonight.